Hey, it's me.
She's a former mayor. They're a former evangelical pastor with dissociative identity disorder. These two like to talk about the topics you're not supposed to talk about. They might cause you to perspire just a bit, but they'll definitely make you inspired. Let's talk religion and politics, and what spirituality and emotional well-being look like in a post-evangelical world. This is Paul and Ashley on Evangelicalish.
All right. It's Wednesday night, and here we are. We weren't here last week.
Here we are.
So
Okay, but listen, we had a fantastic show last week.
we really did.
We recorded it early, and you posted it. Maybe you probably didn't post it until when? Probably like
I think
the
on
week last
Saturday.
week?
I think I posted it on Saturday. Yeah. It was a
Okay.
little slow.
So
It
I'm
was a
just going to
busy
tell
week.
you my favorite evangelical-ish to date, since I've been doing this with you, was that show.
Oh, really?
So,
What made it your favorite?
Yeah, I don't know. Other than I felt this kind of emotional connection, and like it felt a little spiritual to me.
Mm.
I really, really enjoyed it. So if you're listening to this right now, after the fact, like maybe stop listening to this one and go listen to that one. Just kidding.
Well, yeah. If you're watching us live, stay with us for sure.
Stay with us.
And if you're listening to the podcast, listen to this one and then go back and
Listen to the
listen
other
to
one.
our
Yeah,
previous
it was the first time you and I have just been on together without a guest in months. And we had just a lot of really good things to talk about. And I felt like it was didn't it feel like we were getting somewhere kind of deeper, if that makes sense?
You know, my memory, I almost can't we were
Okay. Well,
what were we talking about?
what we did was we interviewed each other. That's what it was.
Oh, right.
We gave each other 5 questions, completely like ask me anything. The other was not aware of what the topics were.
Right.
And it was like Sally, Jesse, Raphael, me meets Oprah, you, in a like cross interview. It was so good.
Both of us with a lot less money than the folks you mentioned.
That's right.
So.
But I actually really, for those of you who are joining live and can see, I'm truly Sally, Jesse, Raphael tonight. I have on the brightest of red lipstick, very heavy rimmed glasses, and my blonde hair. So Sally, Jesse.
Your hair looks great, and you know whose hair that is. You know who your hair reminds me of.
No, tell me. Please say Meg Ryan.
Well, it could be Meg Ryan. I didn't think of that. But I don't know if you remember the blonde singer from Human League. You know, keep feeling fascination, and they sing, "I'm only human."
I remember that song. Yeah.
You don't remember what she looks like?
No, but I'll look it up right quick.
Okay. I mean, she was. Oops, I lost my glasses. She was an 80s musical hottie. So yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going with that, and I'm now showing the profile. So I cut my hair very dramatically a month ago, and I feel like the world has not reacted quite as strongly as I was hoping.
Oh, you're kidding.
I mean, I feel like it was like a major change, and hardly anyone's noticed.
Well, you know, that happens.
Anyway.
That happens. I'm actually looking for a picture of it right now, which is not good since most of our listeners listen to the audio only version, but I can't find a good picture of her. Oh, well.
Well, okay, we'll look for that later.
We will.
But tonight, this is our last show before the end of the calendar year.
Yeah.
We're going to take the next 2 weeks off. And so it's an appropriate time to just start the countdown, start the reflections on 2024. So that's what we're going to do tonight.
Okay. Yeah. And our title, which I said was, you know, a little bit clickbaity, but good year or good riddance. So, and would love to hear from you guys. What did 2024 mean to you? Those of you who are in the chat here on the live stream. And if you've never joined us on the live stream before, pretty much every Wednesday at 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern, you can join. You can talk in the chat. And we don't have a lot of people in the chat yet tonight, but usually we have a good crowd and people who know each other and chat with each other while the show is going on. And so we hope you'll come join us. And yeah, so we're going to talk about what meant the most to us this year and what sucked this year and what we're going to take away when we think back to 2024, at least from the perspective of being here at the end of it right now. 5 years from now, our perspective may totally change. But before we get into that, let me tell you that if you're tired of mainstream religious podcasts that dodge the real questions, then tune in to Heretic Happy Hour. They tackle the burning questions. They don't tackle people. With the main show every Tuesday, which features panelists like Rainn Wilson. Rainn Wilson is like making
big time
on atheist podcast and things like that now.
Wow.
David Bentley Hart, Lisa Sharon Harper, Bart Ehrman, and many more. And they have a bonus show every Friday, a live stream every Sunday in the Heresy After Hours Facebook group, which we've been on. And we're here for all faith seekers, they say, ready to challenge the status quo. So you can subscribe wherever you get your podcast and join the conversation. That's redefining faith.
I like how you said status quo.
Yeah, because I'm erudite.
Most people say status quo.
I know, but they're wrong and I'm right.
That's
Most
really
people
cool.
say vitamins and I say vitamins.
Yes, you do say vitamins.
No.
You say it to be funny every time you talk about vitamins. You say vitamins.
I was listening to an Alex O'Connor YouTube today, and he was saying vitamins. So,
oh, there you go. By the way, you talk about that guy all the time. Like, he's our new fan fave right there.
He's like my favorite now. He's really good.
Listen to him.
I would say Evangelicalish is number one on YouTube.
Correct.
And then
obviously
Alex O'Connor, number two.
Okay, I'm going to write that down. Alex O'Connor. Let's set a goal of 2025. Let's get him on Ish. What do you say?
Oh my gosh, that would be big time because he's huge.
Okay, let's do it. Let's start now. We need a plan. We need to engage our listeners in petitioning this person to join us on Ish.
Okay.
We can do it. We can do it.
Yeah, go blast him on his DMs and tell him you need to be on Evangelicalish. Everybody.
And he'll be like, oh my gosh, why all of a sudden is the entire world talking about evangelical-ish? I can see it now.
All right. Let us know where you're joining from if you're in the comments. Oh, Ethan is here. Cool. And Laura, we said hi to already. And everybody else. So let us know where you're joining from. We love it when we have people from Australia last week, and where else? We were international last week.
We did, and we figured we recorded. Here's Pucky. Hey, Pucky. So glad you're here. It's not an Ish without Pucky joining us. But we figured maybe that Sunday, we recorded Sunday at around 11 o'clock Pacific time.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, maybe it's a little better for international time zones to do that. But anyway, Wednesday, 6 o'clock Pacific is our usual spot.
Yes,
I think it's partly out of habit because you and I went to youth group / Wednesday night church every week for our entire lives until, we were in our 30s probably.
True. And I think it's just like midweek, I think that's why we started doing it there. Laura joins us from Beaumont, California. All right.
Awesome.
Very
and
nice.
We have, is it Doe-a-deer? You think Doe-a-deer like that? Doe-a-deer.
Doe-a-deer. Got it.
Doe-a-deer.
Doe-a-deer.
Awesome.
A female deer.
Male deer.
Yeah.
Oh,
You've heard
thanks.
that song before, right?
Of course I've heard that song.
Oh, okay.
Hello.
I'm assuming that's what it is. She's probably a music teacher. All right. And Alex from Brisbane. And Gladys likes your new haircut. So, all right. We got
Gladys.
Lots of stuff. So let's talk about 2024. Do you want to go first?
All right. So here's the prompt. And no, I'm going to introduce the prompt and make you go first. Okay. Because I'm less confident in my 3 big things. So you need to get the ball rolling. So the idea here is name 3 big things in your life in 2024. It could be personal to you, it could be external to you, but that was the prompt that Paul and I accepted for ourselves to bring forward tonight. And then we're gonna take turns going back and forth. So as you're listening, chime in on the chat. What, like 3 big things? And we figured, try to sum up the big thing in 1 word. This is the challenge.
Yeah.
1 word, and then you can unpack it and tell the story. All right. So
Right.
that is tonight's game.
Okay. Yeah. Because we thought, there's a lot of things you could go through, but you probably, we needed to break it down into chunks to make it work for a podcast.
That's it. Big 3. Big 3. Go. Number 1.
All right. Number 1 for me is reconfigure. I got really clever because I'm a pastor. They're all going to start with re. So
stop it. Mine do too.
Oh
no. We call this the Riri show. 6 re's. I exactly did the same thing. We need to look up the meaning of what is that, whatever that is, like that syllable, re. It's probably something very profound. That prefix.
I think it means to do over.
Well, maybe 2024 was a great big do-over year.
Maybe.
So
yeah, I said reconfigure, I because I wanted them all to be but I started with transfigure. The verse that continues to speak to me a lot, I could say proverb, and it's a verse in the Bible. Romans 12:2 says, don't be conformed to the age, or I believe that means don't be conformed to your echo chamber or your principality, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, which is a never-ending renewing. That's how that statement is crafted, so that you can know what is good and right. And that word transform is actually the word transfigured, the same word we called transfigured when in the story where Jesus was completely changed on the mountain. And we don't know what happened to Jesus there at that transfiguration, but we know that the disciples that were there were like, holy shit, that was so amazing. I never want to leave this place ever again. So it must have been something significant and truly dumbfounding and gobsmacking, as our Brit friends would say. And so, 2024 has been a year of feeling like I have been in a cocoon, and a caterpillar in a cocoon is completely broken down to its very primordial ooze. It is not the same creature anymore. And that's what I feel like has been happening to me over the last few years. And I feel like I'm being transfigured into a completely new creature. And that process has been hell. But I guess I'm starting to eat out of the cocoon. And so I've talked on air about, I don't know what else to say.
Like, ew.
But I've
we'll work on that one.
Talked about DID and, considering how I realize that a lot of what I struggled with in life to this point was feeling like I had to conform to this religious American social norm that I just never have fit in, and just always feeling the injustice of that, of having lived through childhood trauma and realizing the impact of that, and in a world that is still pretty unsympathetic to all of that situation. So it has been a process of like, well, I'm going to have compassion for myself, even when the world doesn't. And in fact, I would say 2024 is the year that we are really moving away from compassion for human beings, and in a lot of ways. So, yeah. So reconfigure is my first word, and starting to say, and I'm okay with reconfiguring, even if the world around me doesn't like it.
Yep. Okay, so we have reconfigure on the board. I'm imagining like Family Feud, and it's like we're putting these words up here. How many people would say reconfigure? Yeah. What is it, like 100 people survey, top six answers on the
Top
board.
6 answers on the board.
Well, reconfigure. And I always love when you talk about that verse, Romans 12:2.
Mm.
I that really comes alive for me. And I actually would say, can you just read it again real quick? It's just very, very powerful.
Well, I don't have it in front of me, and sometimes
Oh.
I mix up translation versions, but basically what it says is don't be conformed to this age. Now, we all grew up being told it means don't be conformed to that world out there, that world, but that's not actually what it means. It's a Greek word aeon, which means era, or don't be conformed to the time that you're in. And I think it means don't be conformed like a frog in a kettle, to the temperature that's around you, but be set apart. So don't be conformed to the age or echo chamber that you're in, but be transformed or transfigured, completely changed by the ongoing renewing of your mind so you can know what is good and right. And so I always tie that to Jesus saying the leaven of bad teaching, bad theology, bad ideology, however you want to call it, the leaven, spirit of this age, says Doa Deer. Yeah, I like that in the chat here of the live stream. The leaven, which is something that spreads through bread, will take away your eyes to see or ears to hear. You'll no longer be able to understand truth and not know what is good and right if you're not always checking yourself and testing yourself and being renewed on an ongoing basis so that you're transformed and not stuck in your echo chamber or principality.
My gosh, I love that so much.
Yeah.
You preached that quite a bit when you were in the pulpit, but there is something about your expression of that sentiment right now that is more powerful than when you used to preach it. And I think it's because of the life you're living, the journey you're on, what you are allowing yourself to experience, and what you're allowing yourself to be exposed to. Like you said, there's not a lot of joy and affirmation and support around you for doing the hard things you're doing, going on your own mental health journey, regardless of the consequences. And so you're really making a sacrifice to live that verse. And so my feeling is like, whatever you're making a sacrifice for, you're going to have so much power and authority in that area. So here, you reading that is like, yeah, God, that is kind of what I would say. Like, that's kind of like what we've always said is our North Star. Like, do the hard stuff, even if it's the hard stuff, in order to be in alignment with that spiritual connection. That above all else is kind of what life is about. And I see Doa Deer in the chat saying that's why transformation is worth the journey. So maybe at the end of 2024, I don't know, it might be premature to say this, you're not like in a fetal position. You're kind of like, hey, no, I'm standing up. I'm doing this. I don't know if you would say it's worth it yet, but at least you're alive and moving forward and pushing through, right?
It's literally like emerging from the cocoon. It's like, okay, I've been broken down, and now I'm reconfiguring, being transformed, so that I can emerge in front of the world and say, and they're going to be like, wow, you don't look like a caterpillar anymore. You look weird. And it'll be like, yeah, because I'm not supposed to stay a caterpillar. I'm supposed to progress in life. And I think we're all supposed to progress in life. And that's what's so weird about conservatism to me, is like, no, we need to keep going back to what we were before. No, we need to keep being transformed and moving forward and learning anew and being challenged anew and thinking anew and all of that stuff. So amen. Well, and thank you, Growth Wave Community 07 on Instagram, who says very beautiful with the heart emoji. So thank you.
And I want to just mention, you were going in and out a little bit for me just there. I don't know if others who are listening on the live stream would say if maybe it's me, but you were.
I think it's you.
Like, okay, got it.
It's not me. It's you.
Yeah, like basically every family argument we have right here, right now. No, it's not me, it's you. No, it's not me. No, it's your Wi-Fi signal. No, it's your Wi-Fi signal. Okay, so I think that's really cool. Okay, my word is each word. We have 3 each. Okay, my first word, also brought to you via Southern Baptist style preacher. Every word needs to start with the same syllable. My word, can you hear me?
I can. Your video is like kind of stop and start, but it's okay. I can hear you fine.
My word is reconstruction.
Okay.
Reconstruction.
We're kind of on the same
Okay,
path there.
we're on the same path. So reconstruction for me, I would say this year, 2024, is the year that I started finding like a genuine spiritual path again. And it's not that I felt completely cut off from spirituality over the last couple of years. I just knew that everything was changing and that was okay. It was extremely painful, but at my deepest level, I would describe feeling like I was kind of in a jello mold. I knew I was held. I knew I was safe, but I was like really going through a deconstruction journey. So at no point did I feel like, oh wow, I'm just completely abandoning the concept of divinity or anything. It just was, hey, everything I've known and the way I've practiced my spiritual faith and views has got to change. Like everything is turned upside down. And that was at least 2.5 years plus. But I would say in 2024, um, things just kind of felt like doors opened, and I found a spiritual connection through a more contemplative practice, I would say. Prayer, meditation, more meditative than prayerful, more just like awareness, like sitting and just thinking about awareness of the presence of love and energy around me. And then also mental health. Like I've consistently been in therapy for at least 3 years now, and this year it really just kind of picked up. And then lastly, physically, like this is my 3rd year in yoga, so I'm finally like in hot
Oh
yoga, by the
yeah.
way. So I finally feel like I can be in the room and not pass out. So it was definitely a reconstruction time, spiritually, mentally, and physically.
Wow. Yeah. I applaud and acknowledge all of that, particularly your yoga practices. And you're definitely jumping into the centering prayer thing. I even saw, I think, an Amazon book show up on that maybe or something. And so, yeah, it's what did you call it? Reconstruction. So you've gone through your deconstruction and now you feel like you're reconstructing.
That's the idea. And it's not different from your caterpillar, your cocoon.
Yeah.
But I prefer, I think it's a lot more delicate to say reconstructing instead of primordial ooze. So I choose that.
Well, it is though, for people that have been going through deconstruction and are like, I just had somebody I knew from my Christian life, like, kind of, you used to talk about, using faith as a muscle or else it would, you'd lose it. And it's like, well, wait, I haven't stopped working my faith muscle. I've just stopped doing it under the guise of the American Christian church. And it reminds me of, the time when you were like, well, do I get to have Jesus anymore in deconstruction, or have I lost Jesus? And it's like, no, you can have Jesus in deconstruction. You don't have to follow a man-made religion to get there anymore. And there's a freedom to access the world of the divine rather than following a man-made formula to get there and having to deal with Jesus' really mean dad at the door to get there. So yeah, and so I think that's great. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
reconstruction's a good idea.
Yay. There you go. Okay. Word 2.
Okay, you go first on word 2.
Okay, I'll go first here. All right. So word 2 for me is also begins with a re, and it is reconnection. This bucket for me is personal relationships, reconnecting with some family members who I had lost touch with, and just kind of like knitting together more family tissue, I'll say relational tissue, with some cousins that I have not been in touch with. And that has been just like a total joy. And I would say top 3 kind of developments in my life. And I'll mention here, because I see her comment in the live chat, our friend Gladys is a good example of reconnecting with a personal relationship that means a lot to me. So yeah, I feel like thing 1 and thing 2 go together because of thing 1 and my own kind of mental health healing journey that I've been on. I think I have a capacity for interpersonal connection that I didn't have before. And so I think I was just like kind of not there a lot, even though I might have physically been there. And so I have a bigger value for personal connection, and I pursued that in some key ways, and I've really enjoyed that.
Yeah, we've learned the value of being present, right?
Yeah, and it like I said, it goes together, and a lot of this flows from I lost my mom 3 years ago on December 6th of this year, so it's 2021, and seeing somebody pass, literally, being at someone's bedside and seeing what matters to them in the final minutes. And it's not like, oh, I have a few more minutes before this meeting's over, or I have a few more minutes before I'm going to jump in the car and go to the airport and not see you for 6 months. Like, I have a few more minutes to draw breath. It is an intense and radically impacting thing to go through. I had never been through that before. And all that mattered to my mom in her final moments while she was drawing breath was one more connection point. That's it.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, this is what it's going to be like at the end. So why not practice that now? I think was just a really profound impact on me.
Yeah. Wow. It's really good. It's really good.
Yeah.
I feel like there's something more to dig into there, but I don't know exactly how to do it. I guess I'll go into my number 2 word. And oh wait, I can do one thing here. Wait, what was it? I found the picture of the woman from Human League, but
Okay. Let's see the 80s hottie.
I don't know if it looks as much like you as I thought it did, but
Okay.
but we'll try it. Let's see if I can share it. Those of you who are listening, this won't mean anything to you because you won't be able to see it, but which one was it? Oh wait. Okay. I got to try another way. I got to feed it in here. Okay, get rid of that. Okay, here we go. Now, I think I've got a couple of them I can share. Sorry, I have a little bit of a sniffle these days. So it's not quite the same, but that's kind of the idea.
Nothing maybe about these pictures are anywhere
Oh, really?
remotely close to my hairstyle.
Really?
The only thing similar is that those 2 pictures, the person was wearing dark lipstick and I am wearing dark red lipstick right now. But it's okay. We'll work on it. We're gonna work on. We'll find some other images. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying those pictures are not probably the best examples. But anyway, let's move on from there.
That's crazy. So this one on the
Okay. I mean, that's better. That's a little different.
On the left side, the blonde doesn't look anything like your hair.
Laura is speaking my love language. Laura in the chat says more like Meg Ryan. Thank you.
Okay.
How many of us have tried to have Meg Ryan hair like all through the 80s and 90s? So thank you. Thank you.
Let me
Yeah,
just
no,
say,
I appreciate your inspiration here.
yeah, in this picture, all three have lovely eyeliner and lipstick. So
Yes.
just so you know.
That the Human League, that they were the band that, because that one guy looks like another 80s artist who I can't name, but that's the Human League. They're all the artists in
That's
that
the
band.
Human League, yes.
Got it. Okay.
And I guess
All right.
I guess they're on tour again. Like
Oh my
they still
gosh.
exist.
How fun.
You know, casinos have made new life for all of these 80s bands.
Yeah,
You know, we have
that's true.
those billboards in our area, like Toto now appearing at Casino X, you know, whatever. All right, my second word is very much like your first word. I call it rethink. And in fact, on the Pastor Paul website, it has rethink, and it says the definition of rethink is think again about something, especially in order to make changes to it. And so my reconfigure was kind of about my personal life, and rethink is a lot about how I interact with the world and with the divine world. And part of why I like Alex O'Connor is, you know, learning about how others see spirituality outside of the box of American Christianity. And it has been so unbelievably freeing to not have to, like, you know, want to have a spiritual sort of metaphysical moment and not have to go, well, oh God, please forgive me. I stole gum from the grocery store when I was 12, and oh, there was that one time I knew they didn't charge me for the water at the bottom of the grocery cart, but I didn't say anything. And oh, if you'll just please forgive me, then I want to ask you to help me, you know, get a good parking spot somewhere, you know, though, you know, all of that stuff, to have a spiritual moment, but instead just know there is a connection between me and heaven. And really that's a connection to my identity as somebody worthy to have that connection. So that rethinking also takes, and very much connected to my personal self, of like, oh, I deserve to understand my
Wow.
worthiness.
Right.
And in understanding that I deserve that, then also I deserve to ask the world to treat me as I feel like I deserve to be treated and honored and loved and all of those things. And so, you know, that means a whole lot of things to me, but
Yeah.
just like, I, at you know, what I was talking about in reconfigure, I'm going to be me, even if it makes people uncomfortable around me, which, you know, includes you and the kids. And it's like, my whole life has been like, oh, I can't make people around me uncomfortable. I have to try and make people comfortable. I'm naturally kind of a contrarian, and so I'm always like, oh no, I'm making my family feel uncomfortable because this is who I am, and I wish I wasn't this person. I wish I wasn't this terrible person. And now I'm learning to say, no, this is what I'm wired to be. There has to be a reason for this. And I'm even, as much as I hate how people in Christianity use the "for such a time as this" Esther story, it makes me roll my eyes. I'm actually sort of in a space of like, maybe I somewhere in the metaphysical world chose this life, and maybe it was for such a time as this. Maybe it was for this moment. And
Mm.
all of that is, you know, inspires me. And so, trigger warning about, you know, self-harm. Much of my life, as we talked with Dr. Jamie Marich a couple of weeks ago, I prayed every night, God, let me die before I wake, and I pray the Lord my soul to take, because I just didn't want to live anymore. But I knew I couldn't commit suicide, because then I would go to hell forever. And I was a little afraid to anyway. And, you know, just really thought everybody around me would have a better life if I didn't exist. And I think I'm really not in that mind frame anymore. I'm like, okay, I think it's still a wrestling match at times, but I think I'm at a place like, no, I think I have a place in the world, and still trying to figure that out. But so anyway, that's my rethinking. Like,
Mm.
I have a purpose in the world, and I matter.
Mhm.
And I've always thought I could do things to impact other people, but maybe I have my buck part that's always like, let's get out of this world because maybe we'll fit in the next one. Maybe I'm at a place where I'm like, oh, I don't fit into this world, and maybe that's a good thing for a good reason, and learning about all of that. So rethink, that's my second word.
Okay. There are about 300 layers to everything you just said. And Doa Deer in the live stream chat says, when we learn that it is not possible to please anyone else until we are okay with ourselves and our journey. And then talk about live from the pit. Paul, you were the voice I found that kept me from giving up.
Thank you,
That's so
sweetie.
generous and gracious. So the first big thing like that I heard in what you just said, that I think is so important, and trigger warning here for anybody who's an adult survivor. Like when, and who knows, like maybe it's all different kinds of things that can produce this in a human being, and not to say it's any one particular type of trauma or even trauma at all, but the fact that you were walking around feeling like, I'm not worthy to be a vessel to host the divine. Like that was an undercurrent for you in your life until maybe this year, is what you're saying. And that you're awakened to the idea that actually that's not true, that and it's not somebody's external definition of religion or spirituality. It is just like a innate experience that as a human you have value, and that you do in fact host the spirit, like the life force, right? I think I
Right.
heard you say that. But and as I've been listening and trying to learn a lot about the effects of trauma and abuse on all of us, and especially on adults, like I've learned that's a pretty common thing, that it's probably the most acidic and devastating consequences of physical abuse, is that you're just convinced you're walking around and that you're the piece of shit, right? And not the abuser, but it's you that's the piece of shit.
Right. Well, the abuser is really good at teaching you to learn that it's your fault that you're being abused. But part of the trauma itself, again, as we learned with Dr. March, is being told you're a piece of shit. That's what Christianity does. It is in and of itself a trauma. You almost did the full spit out your coffee. That is a basic teaching of Christianity. It's like when you take somebody out for coffee with that Christian agenda, you have to say, I know you think you're happy, but actually you're a total piece of shit and you're miserable. And if I can convince you of that, then I can tell you, yay, you have been convinced your life sucks, and I have the solution for it. I mean, what a terrible marketing plan.
Yeah, and way worse than like, you think you're happy but you're not, or your life actually sucks. It's not even that. It's like that your core existence is flawed, broken, wrong, judged, condemned.
You can do no good.
It's at
you are
at the very
incapable
core
of doing good.
That's right. You are at the very core. You are a devastated, blob of cells.
So it is in and of itself trauma producing.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily just a side effect of trauma. It is, Christianity is trauma producing in and of itself at its well, at the core teaching that we now teach, that this original
Which
sin was not always the
the
teaching of the
original
church.
sin,
Right.
right? And original sin, and for sure the dominant evangelical
Right.
presentation today.
And this idea that because a guy ate a piece of fruit 4,000 to 6,000 years ago, I'm a terrible person and do terrible things. And as a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old, we're told that this wonderful person, Jesus, who we love, had to get the shit beat out of him by his father in the most heinous death possible because of me, so that I don't burn in fire created by this good father for the rest of eternity. I mean, it's horrifying that we teach that to children, and that is part of the trauma of my life growing up, is being told you're a piece of shit. This is what the Bible says, and me going, oh yeah, that's true.
Gosh, it all makes so much sense. And so for so many years, decades, your only hope to get out from underneath that, if that teaching is true, is to perform to the standards and the expectations of the person who's delivering that message, the institution that's delivering that message. And what I'm hearing you say is that this is a year where you have, in rethinking, you're like flipping that script, and you're saying like, no, I inherently host an ability to connect spiritually. I inherently have value.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I there's a whole lot of things I think about the Bible, but I do think there is a through line of divine and humanity partnering together to move through history that I think is really beautiful. And
Yes.
I really believe that was the message of Jesus, is like, hey, religion has stolen your identity and your soul and your connection to the divine. And I want to teach you how to understand, not necessarily how to be reconnected to it, but to understand you've never been disconnected from it. It's just you've been taught that you don't get to be connected to it by this bad religion. And I want to tear that thing down so that you can be reconnected to what you inherently should be connected to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly that. Oh, that's so cool, because that's kind of, I mean, that's essentially, for me, reconstruction, my first word, that's kind of basically, we end up in the same place there.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your third word?
Okay. My third word, and I cheated a little bit. I have more than one word for my third word. It's react, recoil, and lament. So I actually go off the R because it is, what 2024 I think will always be known for in history is the election of Donald Trump.
Re-electing. Ooh, there's another re-electing.
Re-electing. So I first reacted to the election of Donald Trump, to the re-election of Donald Trump. That's good. In that my first reaction was like, oh, I feel like I cannot trust humanity around me anymore. That while I can cognitively say, yes, people are voting for cheaper eggs and cheaper gas, which now, shocker alert, Trump is saying, oh, it's really hard to get grocery prices down. And he's now backing out on that promise. And he said, oh, it'll be really easy to end the Ukraine war in 24 hours after I'm elected, before I even get into office. And he's now relented on that promise too. Relented. He hasn't relented. He's acting like it never happened. But I woke up afraid of my own country the day after the election. That was I reacted and really had a hard time getting my feet back under me again. And so I recoiled. I was like, I just don't know how I can fit into this world anymore, or if I even can. Or does it matter this much to people to to use the N-word in jokes again and be able to call people faggot. And I mean, is that what this is about, or
Grab
not
them
to
by
have,
the pee.
grab them by the pee and have, men be able to take their woman by the hair and drag them into the bedroom again? Is that what this, Make America Great Again is all about? And that's what people really want. And I'm still not 100% convinced that that's not part of the love of Donald Trump. I know that's not everybody, and I get all that, but I do think somebody, everybody had to say, okay, yeah, he said he loves to grab women by the pee, and 12 jurors found him guilty. The judge said he was found guilty of grape, and the jury found him liable of forcing himself on a woman. And people said, yeah, but who doesn't have that in their background and run for president? I mean, it's horrifying. And so I recoiled, and now I have found peace in a lament. Jeremiah was in a similar time in history, and he wrote a book called Lamentations, which was, my people have forgotten goodness. My people have forgotten to take care of the justice for the poor and the foreigner and the outcast, the marginalized, and the widow, the economically disadvantaged. And so I lament my people, but it is, and in Jeremiah's way of thinking and writing, is it is God's mercy that we're going to fall into the hands of an enemy so that we'll be drawn back to goodness. We will no longer be, as he said in Jeremiah 5, fat and sleek, and no longer caring about the widow or justice for the fatherless. And so my peace is in sort of a empire's end. And maybe that's where we are in history now, that the American empire has served its purpose in moving humanity forward. Now we'll fall back a little bit. Jesus said, not one stone of that thing will stand on another, when the disciples were like, isn't our religion and our society amazing? Look at this temple. Look at these temple buildings, Jesus. And he's like, yeah, not one stone of that thing's going to stand on another. And he didn't say, and pray that God relents from that. Pray that it doesn't happen. He said, pray that you're not pregnant when that happens, because it's going to be tough. And so I feel like, okay, this is who we are. This is what we've chosen. And so my job is to stand in who I am and help as many people as I can in the middle of it. And I know that's not where you are necessarily, but that's where I found my peace after I reacted and recoiled, is I'm sort of living in the lament of the season. And I've started working on a blog today, actually, about, I don't think we're going to be okay, and I think that's okay. So that's where I am today.
Okay, so it reminds me of this dream that I had
Okay.
about Donald Trump in 2016. This was a weird, sometimes you just have these like spiritual, like, that wasn't the pizza I ate the night before. I remember this dream like it was yesterday, and it was so profound. I guess I ultimately can't say if I know that there was spiritual relevance or meaning here, but I'll just share it. Here was
But you had a sense it was connected to something
I
outside
did,
of you that was
absolutely.
telling you something.
Yes. And it's not the first time. I mean, I'd say it on maybe a dozen times in my life, I've had a similar, like this, I had this unbelievably intense, sort of spiritually profound dream. And it's just like, I don't know why, I don't know what, whatever. Okay. So this was, I want to say, either right before Donald Trump was elected in 2016 or maybe right after, but it was Trump won. And in my dream, Paul, you and I were in our first home, which, is where we moved when we were first married. And in this dream, the president-elect, I think that was it. He had been elected, but not sworn in. The president-elect was visiting our home, and he walks in, and you and I are both like, oh my gosh, the president of the United, we were expecting him. The president of the United States is here. This is a big deal. Kind of nervous. He kind of like has no regard for us. He's just like, eh. And he goes in. Our house was like U-shaped. So you walk in, to the right, there was a living room, then the primary bedroom, dining room, family room, and it just made a U around the kitchen. And then you were back to the front door. In this dream, Donald Trump went into every room, starting with the front office / living room, and superhumanly took the furniture, flipped it upside down, and then stacked all of those upside down furniture pieces on top of the other. So imagine like a sofa being turned upside down and a china cabinet being turned upside down, but then like the sofa, upside down sofa was on top of the upside down china cabinet. Okay, so it was just completely nonsensical, reckless, ridiculous. And he went from room to room to room, turning everything upside down. And he was angry, and he was like, and then he'd be like childish, like walk to the next room. You and I are hanging back because this is the president-elect, and we're just like, oh my God. And
by the way, this is sounding exactly like Donald Trump thus far. So yes, keep going.
I know. And this was before he was sworn in. Okay. So, when he would go from one room to the next, I would look at you, and you were like, had this worried look on your face. And I would look at you and I would say to you, it's all right. Don't worry about it. We'll fix it when he's gone. And each room, don't worry. We'll fix it when he's gone. And I just had this confidence, like, I know it's a mess, but don't worry. There's a solution. We'll fix it when he's gone. We get to the last room in the house. So he's made the complete U. And the last room of the house, I start to think, actually, I'm afraid. I don't know that we can fix this. And all of a sudden, I'm aware of there being Secret Service in our driveway and a black, SUV, and like men with guns were outside in our driveway. And I was like that. I don't actually know. And then he left. So all of this to say, generally speaking, I still am in the like, it's okay. We'll fix it when he's gone. I don't know, however, that I'm going to like, maybe Trump too is this end of the sweep of the house. Maybe this dream has nothing to do with anything, and is just the pizza I ate. But generally speaking, I could have said for my third word, I could have said reform. I instead picked reimagine or reimagining. And I'll just say personally, probably reimagining is a better word, but I still hold fast to the vision and the opportunity of reforming community, institutions, society. Like I still, to my core, I'm a reformer, and I don't necessarily go like, oh, that's it. It's the end of America. I actually think that there's no question we're in this season of everything being thrown up in the air. I actually kind of have hope that there's an opportunity to sort those pieces out in a new, different, more creative and impactful way. But it's going to mean like the human spirit, the humans, like the oppressive disgustingness that's happening that fuels this MAGA right is like, that's not what I'm talking about, but I'm talking about like, hey, the disruption's happening. Those of us who are like reformers and reimaginers, why don't we take this opportunity to see what we can make happen?
Yeah. And I don't think what we're saying is necessarily 180 degrees opposite sides of the same coin necessarily. I think sometimes it takes something catastrophic to get people focused on, oh, we cannot do things the way we've been doing them. Now, the one thing about your dream, I would say, is in your dream, we didn't like reset the house and then invite Trump back in a second time.
Oh, no, we didn't. We were glad when he was gone. We were like, oh, whew, like, and it was, the fear came like right at the end as he was exiting. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know actually if we are going to be able to fix this. And then like out he went and the dream was over.
Because it does feel a lot to me like we survived Trump. And then we're like, nah, thank you, sir. May I have another? And we're like going to try it again and see if we can get lucky and survive it again. Just that was kind of fun, that roller coaster. Let's do it again and see if this time the wheels do come off and what happens. So I think that's pretty scary in it all. But yeah, I think it does sometimes take, just like this. I think we all say, yeah, murdering somebody on the street in cold blood, as Trump said he could do and not lose any voters. What we saw with this CEO of United Healthcare, we all agree, terrible thing. We don't like it happening, but it also is a little bit uncomfortable to admit. But it finally has people talking about how crappy our healthcare system is and how horrifying it is that United Healthcare literally has been, I don't know if it's fair to say, killing people.
I don't think, honey, I don't think we can say that. I don't think
Well,
that is so serious and real. Like, those words are not, like, I don't know. That feels, um, I mean, how in the world could you say that without really having a factual basis?
it's definitely a part of the discussion. I'll just say that Michael Moore, the filmmaker, he said, "I am absolutely against murder. That's why I speak out against healthcare companies." And it's yeah. Anyway, I understand what you're saying. It is denying care to people for profit-based reasons is, I think, horribly cruel at very best. So let's put it at that. But just the same, the Boston Tea Party destroying somebody's property was done to draw attention to unfair taxation, right? So sometimes it takes something catastrophic happens to get people to focus on something they wouldn't otherwise focus on. And so it may be that, and it's partly why I am a little bit disgusted at I'm a lot disgusted at the Democrats and all this, is they had a chance to fix some of these things and didn't do it. And I guess they might say, wow, we didn't really have all of the levers of power at our dispense to do so. But yeah, we didn't totally fix what we could have tried to fix in the interim between the two Trump administrations.
Yeah, that's a lot, and there's a lot of good comments coming in on the live stream and the chat, that, I don't know, we've just, like, struck a nerve. Like, this is, well, it's, I guess we didn't just strike a nerve. There's just very real, tangible, like, right now, levels of fear and anxiety, particularly in the trans community with the election. I mean, that's, yeah, I appreciate Stephanie's point that as a cis white female, I have the luxury and the privilege of feeling optimistic and feeling like, okay, I can help fix it. And I think also living in California, I think we have that feeling too, that we're a little bit isolated from some of the consequences of this sentiment. But I will also say, that individual people in our own community are still, still carry that attitude, and that doesn't escape me. I don't feel like we're completely immune just because we're in California.
I mean, it is scary when you, like I heard somebody talking today about the ABC settlement with Trump in the George Stephanopoulos case, that, part of Disney's concern was, oh, if we could win this case 9 out of 10 times or 99 out of 100 times, but if we get in front of the wrong Trump judge in the wrong district in Florida, we're screwed. There's too many Trump judge venues in America where we would be screwed, and we can't afford to do that. And the courts were the backstop before, but now we can't trust the Supreme Court. Like, even and I don't want to end the show on a terrible note, but like, is gay marriage in peril? Clarence Thomas has said things that show that he would gladly overturn the national protection of gay marriage. And those are scary things when you start thinking about it. And I understand why Stephanie Christine in our comments is talking about how dangerous this is. And certainly people I have met who have children on gender affirming care may very soon have that ability to do that care for their children, to provide that care, taken away. That is a real threat that the Republican Congress is now saying they will do, and Trump has said he will sign it. And some Republicans in Congress want to take away all gender affirming care options for everybody in America. And so those things are very, very scary. And thus my recoil, and lament. But the other side of that then is, I, for one, am committed to, we will fucking take care of each other. We will do that. Even if the government totally comes off its wheels, we'll figure out how to take care of each other in all of this.
Yeah, and I keep coming back to against the backdrop of I don't know, the darkness. I just keep imagining, yeah, but individual people can still access, can still show up, can still say and do and be better, different. Like I just keep this dark night sky. Even against that dark night sky, you see the brightness of light. You see the stars. And like, it is actually the case that the government doesn't control our minds, our mouths, our like who we choose to be and how we choose to show up for other people in in our communities and in humanity. Like the government is not that powerful. So I take a lot of hope in that.
Yeah, I mean, as an example, the state of Missouri, which is the state in which I was born, passed an anti-gender affirming care law. And the city of Kansas City said, "Oh no, we're a sanctuary city for gender affirming care. We will not enforce this law. And if you have a child who's in gender affirming care, bring them to Kansas City, and you will be safe here with us." And by the way, I forgot to do the video I was going to do. Sanctuary cities are biblical. Sanctuary cities were set up in the Bible to provide mercy for people who needed mercy. And so, yeah, I gotta do that video at some point. Yeah, every Christian is like, "Oh, sanctuary cities," but actually the Bible commanded sanctuary cities and spoke very well of them. So we'll have to talk about those things. But just like you say, the city of Kansas City said, I don't care that the state of Missouri passed this law. We will take care of you in our city.
And so, are you like this? The Kansas City, Missouri, passed a local ordinance. So then that's bound. So then the Attorney General of Missouri has to sue the city to enforce or something like that.
So they didn't pass a law. The mayor or whoever, I don't know how it works, just basically said, "We're not going to enforce this law. It's a law in Missouri, but we're not going to arrest anybody. We're not going to, we're not going to ask doctors if they're doing this care."
Well, the city wouldn't do that anyway, and the city doesn't have.
Well, whoever does it, I don't know how it works, but it's just like in California, using psilocybin and selling mushrooms is illegal, but we have 6 cities, including Oakland, that have said, "We will not enforce that law. So come on here and grow your mushrooms, sell your mushrooms, use your mushrooms. You will not get arrested in our city for doing those things." So I don't know exactly how it works, but that was what the mayor of Kansas City said.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I mean, gosh.
And certainly our governor in California has said, you will be able to get your reproductive care in California. So, and it's in our Constitution and several other states' constitutions. So if they try to do a national abortion ban, it will be interesting to see how that plays out. So what I'm trying to say is, to affirm what you're saying, it is a time we'll get to see people step up and say, not on my watch, not on my watch.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of watches, the time has come for us to wrap this episode. We're out of time.
Do you want to do our holiday thing real quick to finish
real
on a
quick.
fun
Yes,
note?
that's right. This is our last show before the holiday. So, favorite holiday traditions / least favorite holiday traditions. Go.
Favorite holiday, gosh, they just totally left my mind now. Favorite holiday tradition is in Fresno, we have a street called Christmas Tree Lane, where almost all of the houses are decorated. Since our kids were very small, we drive down the street. They have all 12 of the reindeer kind of not hidden necessarily, but just placed all along the street, and we would all try to find them. And me and the two kids always had an argument with you of whether it was Donner or Donder, and it was always Donner on the street. But we have found that there are places where it's called Donder, and it's something that I've just always absolutely loved at Christmas time, driving with the kids down Christmas Tree Lane.
I love Christmas Tree Lane. I love Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And I always have, as a kid, we could be having the most hellacious family fights. And I mean that in the most egregious way possible. And then Christmas Eve would happen. And we just all went into this excited, delicious food. Stephanie, thank you for the useful knowledge and the live chat. Donder and Blitzen is German for thunder and lightning. Thank God. I'm vindicated.
Look at that. You have been vindicated.
Donder. Well, the argument we would have in our family was because we got the kids the book, and I read every night to the kids, and even when it wasn't Christmas time, the kids loved "'Twas the Night Before Christmas," so we all had it memorized. I mean, we were like over and I just know that original book. It is Donder. So there we go. Now, the fact that in Fresno on Christmas Tree Lane, whoever made that little reindeer just went with the vernacular kind of common understanding.
The song says Donner.
All right. Well,
Rudolph
then the songwriters got it wrong.
Yeah.
Anyway, love Christmas Eve. Even now we do this. We do like a really beautiful kind of like family buffet, and everyone gets their favorite foods on Christmas Eve. And I look forward to that. And then on Christmas Day, I just love the waking up and the kids and coming down the stairs and having the Santa pancakes and them just being so
complaining
excited
about me videotaping them coming down the stairs.
Exactly. Not wanting to be seen on film, not their best, and but having them being so excited for Christmas. Oh my gosh, it's just the absolute best. So now our daughter, who's 25, she'll be home on Monday. This is our first time with the kid coming home from school at the last minute right before Christmas. So there's just an extra sort of excitement in the air.
And I love Christmas music. I know a lot of people don't like it. Oh, by the way, Alex from Australia, she says in her German dictionary, I hope those are your pronouns, Alex, Donner means thunder in German.
Well, the debate continues.
Yes,
and maybe it's like you could say it either way, and it means, who knows? But
all right, what do you hate at Christmas but you do anyway?
Well, all the work leading up to it. And I figure it's probably like 15 extra hours a week for about a month for whoever's the primary host for your family holiday, that's thinking about the food, that's thinking about the sleeping arrangements, that's doing all the shopping, that's running the errands, that's scheduling everything. Like it's definitely 80 to 100 hours.
You have a
leading
spreadsheet.
Up to. Oh, hell yeah, I have a spreadsheet. I mean, who doesn't? I mean, I have a spreadsheet, and I have probably just a bunch of gifts I just know it is going to be very challenging the next 5 days, but the vision gives pain purpose. I have the vision of Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, and I can't wait.
It is. You do get into a mode where you're a little bit scary to be around.
I am scared. I even am scared of myself, to be honest.
But I do have to admit that the kids, just our whole family, how that we react, the four of us, how we react around it is worth it. And I should mention the other favorite thing is we always go to the central coast of California, generally around the new year. And it's so wonderful to do that with our children. And we're doing that again this year. And I cannot wait. It's going to be fabulous, fabulous.
Oh.
The thing I hate is along the same lines, putting up, I'm in charge of the outdoor decorations, and you love these lights on our bushes. They're hell to put up. But what I hate worse is taking them down. That's what
it. That is it.
I don't necessarily hate putting the decorations up. I love having them up. I love how our house looks right now. Taking them down is absolutely the worst, because you're already like, oh, the holidays are over. We got to get back to normal. And then you got to take all these lights and put them back in the box. It's just hell. So yes,
exactly.
I hate putting up the decorations because that means you got to take them down.
You got to take them down. Okay. Well, that is it. So let's not focus on, let's focus on the magic that's still in front of us. We're going to enjoy it so much.
Don't borrow tomorrow's trouble today.
Exactly. But to all of you, thanks for listening. Thanks for recapping 2024 with us. If you like this podcast, please make sure you share it. If you haven't already, you can go to evangelicalish.com and you can sign up for our newsletter. That is free to you. It is a wonderful stocking stuffer, a free stocking stuffer. Hey, I gave your email address to Ish. Just kidding. That might not be a great thing to do. But you know what? You could also make a decision. It's a little Christmas stocking stuffer for yourself or someone else. You could sign up at $5.99 a month to support our conversations here every week and the work that Pastor Paul does. We are so grateful for so many of you who support, and also we can always use more support. So you can go to evangelicalish.com and sign up if you haven't already. Monthly support, lots of cool stuff, ways to engage with Paul, provide your input, and be a part of our community that we're building here at Ish. And with that, I'd say 2024 is a wrap.
Happy holidays, everyone. We will see you in the new year, right? We'll not be back again in 2024. Is that correct?
That's right. First week in Jan.
Unless we do something off the cuff at some point or something. But we'll see you in 2025. Love you all.